press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Namaste children. Let us continue with the topic structural organization in animals. So in our last class we discussed about types of simple epithelium. Simple epithelium means the cells arranged, single layer of cells arranged above the basement membrane. So under that we discussed simple squamous epithelium, simple columnar epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium and simple ciliated columnar or cuboidal epithelium and pseudo stratified epithelium. In this class we will discuss about glandular epithelium and compound epithelium. Understood? So, some of the cells or group of cells which are meant for secretion are called as glands. A cell or a group of cells meant for secretion are called as glands. So, some of the epithelial cells like columnar cells or cuboidal cells modified themselves for secretion. That type of cells or that type of epithelium is called glandular epithelium. Understood? Or glandular cells. So, some of the cuboidal or columnar cells modified for secretion. So, that type of epithelium is called glandular epithelium. Based on number of cells involved in secretion, glandular epithelium is classified into two types, that is unicellular gland and multicellular gland. Understood? Unicellular gland and multicellular gland. So, in the unicellular gland, single cell is modified for secretion. So, this is a basement membrane. So, above that we see the cells. So, this cell is modified for secretion. So, this type of cells, when single cell modified for secretion, the type of epithelium is called unicellular epithelium. In multicellular, here many cells are modified for secretion. So, this type of epithelium or glandular cells is called multicellular glandular epithelium. Understood? So, here in the epithelial cell, in between one cell will be modified for secretion. That type of epithelium is called unicellular glandular epithelium. When many cells, when many cells will embedded into the surrounding tissue. So, many cells when involved in the secretion, the type of epithelium is called multicellular glandular epithelium. Examples for unicellular, we have goblet cells which they are seen in the lining of the gut, gastrointestinal tract, where it secretes mucus. That mucus helps in lubrication. So, for this multicellular glandular epithelium, example is salivary glands. It secretes saliva. Understood? That is the difference between unicellular and multicellular glandular epithelium. Then, based on the mode of releasing of that secretion or based on pouring of their secretion. Again, the glands are classified into two types. One is exocrine gland, another one is endocrine gland. Exocrine glands and endocrine glands. See, the glands, whatever they secrete, the secretion will release to a particular area where the function is going to occur. So, in the exocrine gland, example, parotid gland, it is having a duct called Stenson's duct. It is having a duct called Stenson's duct to release the secretion into oral cavity. So, that means exocrine glands have ducts to release their secretion. Whereas in endocrine glands, they are also called ductless glands because they don't have ducts to release their secretion, directly pour their secretion into surrounding tissue. Understood? That's the difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. Exocrine glands have ducts to release their secretion. Whatever the saliva produced in the parotid gland will be released to the oral cavity through a duct called Stenson's duct. Whereas in endocrine gland, there is no duct to release their secretion. Directly, whatever the secretion occurs in a gland, this is a gland, the secretion will be directly released into the surrounding connective tissue, mainly into the blood. Through the blood, it will be carried to the target organs where the function of that secretion is needed. That is the difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. Examples for exocrine gland, we have salivary glands, and for endocrine glands, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, so they all come under endocrine glands. Usually endocrine gland secretes hormones. Whereas exocrine gland secretes saliva, mucus, enzymes, etc. Understood? That's the difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. So, in your exam, they may ask for 2 marks or 3 marks. So, write the difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. So, write based on the pouring of their secretion, the glands are classified into 2 types, exocrine gland and endocrine gland. In exocrine gland, they have ducts to release their secretion, whereas ducts were absent in endocrine gland. Here the secretion will be released directly into a surrounding connective tissue. Examples for this is salivary glands. For there we have all the endocrine glands like thyroid, thymus, pituitary gland. They all come under endocrine glands. Endocrine glands usually secretes hormones, whereas exocrine gland secretes enzymes, saliva, mucus, etc. That's the difference between exocrine and endocrine gland. And based on nature of the secretion, the glands are again classified into 3 types: acrine or neurocrine gland, apocrine gland and holocrine glands. Based on their nature of secretion, again the glands are classified into three types. So, acrine or mesocrine gland, here we see basement membrane, so whatever the secretion occurs in the cell will release to the surrounding connective tissue by a diffusion process, or exocytosis, or by diffusion process. Example for this we have sweat glands or salivary glands, all come under example for this acrine or mesocrine gland. Examples are sweat glands or salivary glands. What happens here? The secretion of the cell will be released to the surrounding tissue by a simple diffusion from their higher to lower concentration. Then what occurs in apocrine gland? In apocrine gland, see, it is a basement membrane. See, the secretion is pinched off. In the apical part. The secretion of that cell is going to accumulate in the apical part of a cell, and it is pinched off, and after that it will be shed and released into the surrounding connective tissue. That is seen in apocrine glands. So, in apocrine gland, the secretions will be accumulated in their apical part, then it is going to be pinched off or shed off into the surrounding connective tissue with the secretion. That is about apocrine gland. Example, mammary gland. Whereas in holocrine gland, with the secretion, whole cell is going to be shed off into surrounding tissue. That is holo means whole cell is going to shed with their secretion. That is nothing but that gland is holocrine gland. Example, sebaceous glands. So, that is about the glands based on nature of their secretion. We have three types: acrine or mesocrine, apocrine and holocrine. In acrine or mesocrine, the secretion is going to release to the surrounding tissue by a process called diffusion or exocytosis, whereas in apocrine gland, the secretion is going to be accumulated in their apical part. After that, it will be pinched off and shed off into the surrounding tissue. Whereas in holocrine gland, whole cell with their secretion will shed into the surrounding tissue. That's about the different types of glands based on nature of their secretion. The glandular epithelium can be arised from all the three germinal layers. So, next we will move with the compound epithelium. So, compound epithelium, we know that epithelium is classified into two types, simple epithelium and compound epithelium. When the single layer of cells lie above the basement membrane, that type of epithelium is simple epithelium. When many layers, when two or more layers lie on the basement membrane, this is a basement membrane which is a acellular. Acellular means does not contain any cells. Acellular layer called basement membrane. On that we see the arrangement of cells. So one layer, so like this, when two or more layer of cells lie above the basement membrane, this basement membrane contains glycoprotein which is released by the epithelial cells. It contains glycoproteins released by the epithelial cells. Understood? So that type of epithelium is called compound epithelium. So compound epithelium will have two or more layer of cells lie above the basement membrane. So this compound epithelium is classified into non-stretchable and stretchable epithelium or stratified epithelium and transitional epithelium. This one is non-stretchable. Understood? So compound epithelium is again classified into stratified and transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium is also called urothelium. It's also called urothelium because this type of epithelium we see in urinary bladder and in ureter. So what's the difference between? As it tells, stretchable, these layer of cells are able to expand and they become flattening. Understood? That's why that is called transition. Transition means it is going to change when it is changing their shape. The shape is not permanent. It is going to change according to the requirement. When the urinary bladder, when urine fills in the bladder, the cells are going to, they become flattened. Understood? After that again they become expand. So that's why it's called transitional epithelium. It going to change in its shape. Understood? So that's why it's called stretchable epithelium. The cells in this transitional epithelium are able to expand and also they have become flat based on requirement. So this type of epithelium is called transitional epithelium seen in urinary bladder and in ureter. Urinary bladder and in ureter. Stratified epithelium, it is non-stretchable. It will not stretch and it remains, the shape of cells will remain constant. Understood? So here based on shape of cell, the stratified epithelium again classified into stratified squamous epithelium, stratified columnar epithelium, stratified cuboidal epithelium and stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. Understood? If the cells have polygonal shape, that epithelium is stratified squamous epithelium. If they have column like, then it is columnar epithelium. If the cells are cuboidal, then it is cuboidal epithelium. If the cells have the cilia on their surface, then it is stratified ciliated columnar epithelium or stratified ciliated cuboidal epithelium. So again, stratified squamous epithelium is classified into keratinized epithelium and non-keratinized epithelium. Understood? Keratinized epithelium and non-keratinized epithelium. So what is keratinized epithelium? Here this is a basement membrane, above that we see a layer of cells. So we see deposition of protein called keratin on the upper surface. So deposition of protein called keratin on their upper surface. That deposition of keratin on their upper surface will lead to the death of that cells, death of upper layer of cells. That's why that type of epithelium is called keratinized epithelium or cornified epithelium. Cornified epithelium. That process of deposition of keratin on their upper surface is called keratinization or cornification. Keratinization or cornification, and that layer is called stratum corneum or horny layer. That layer is called stratum corneum or horny layer. Understood? The deposition of keratin on the upper surface will lead to the death of that layer. So that layer is called stratum corneum or horny layer. That process of deposition of keratin is nothing but keratinization or cornification. The type of epithelium which have keratin on their surface is called keratinized epithelium or cornified epithelium. This type of epithelium is seen in sole of the foot. Seen in sole of the foot. Whereas non-keratinized epithelium, in the non-keratinized epithelium there is no deposition of keratin on their upper surface. So the upper layer of cells are living here. Understood? Whereas in keratinized epithelium, the upper layer cells are dead cells. They have dead cells due to the deposition of keratin. Whereas in non-keratinized, upper layer of cells are living cells because there is no deposition of keratin. The type of epithelium is called non-keratinized epithelium, seen in buccal cavity, lining of buccal cavity or in the vagina, etc. Understood? This is about the compound epithelium. And stratified columnar epithelium is seen in salivary ducts of salivary glands or in salivary glands. Let's stratified columnar epithelium is seen in epiglottis. Stratified columnar epithelium is seen in epiglottis, whereas stratified cuboidal epithelium is seen in salivary glands. Stratified cuboidal epithelium is seen in salivary glands, whereas stratified ciliated columnar epithelium is seen in larynx. It is seen in larynx. Understood? So this is about compound epithelium. So compound epithelium means that type of epithelium have two or more cells lie above the basement membrane. That basement membrane is acellular, does not contain any cells. It is made up of glycoprotein which is released by epithelial cells. Compound epithelium is classified into stratified and transitional epithelium or non-stretchable and stretchable epithelium. So these transitional epithelium are able to expand or they become flat based on requirement seen in urinary bladder and in ureter. Whereas stratified epithelium, based they are non-stretchable, the shape remains constant, and based on the shape of a cell they are classified into stratified squamous, stratified columnar, stratified cuboidal and stratified ciliated columnar epithelium. Again the stratified squamous is classified into keratinized and non-keratinized. In keratinized epithelium, we see the deposition of protein called keratin on their upper surface. That deposition of keratin will lead to death of the cells. So, upper layer in that keratinized epithelium are non-living because the deposition of keratin led to the death of cells. This type of epithelium is seen in sole of the foot. Whereas non-keratinized means there is no deposition of keratin on their upper surface and the upper layer of cells are going to be living, they will have living cells. So that is seen in buccal cavity and in cornea of eye, there we see non-keratinized. And in stratified columnar is we see in epiglottis, stratified cuboidal is seen in salivary glands and stratified ciliated columnar is seen in larynx. Understood? So that's about compound epithelium. Next we'll move with the types of junctions. So in epithelial tissue, we see contact between cells and the cell junctions which give structural and functional link between the cells. We have three types of junctions, and so these cell junctions will provide structural and functional link between the cells. They provide between the cells. So, between the cells in epithelium, we see very less intercellular matrix. Understood? Very less intercellular matrix is present or intercellular substance is present. The cells of epithelium are closely packed with less intercellular substances. So, we have three types of junctions which provide structural and functional link between the cells. So, we have three types, that is tight junctions, adhering junctions and gap junctions. Understood? So, tight junctions, adhering junctions and gap junctions. So, in the tight junctions, this is a tight junctions. Understood? So this type of junctions will not allow any movement of substance between the cells. They prevent leakage of substances between the cells. So in tight junctions, as the name indicates, there is no leakage of substances between the cells. That is about tight junction. Whereas in adhering junction, so we can see some actin filaments which connects two cells, they provide cementing between two cells, thereby they helps to cells to contact with each other. They support. This type of adhering junction provides mechanical support to the cells. So between two cells we see a connection with the filaments. Intercellular filaments or intercellular link is going to be there between two cells in adhering junctions, but there is no movement of substances. Only they help in cementing cells or adhering two cells to each other. Understood? That's all. But there is no movement of substances between the cells. That is called adhering junction. Whereas in gap junction, we see a cytoplasmic connection between two cells. So that allows the movement of substances between the cells. See, there is a connection between two cells. There is connection between two cells that helps in exchange of substances between the cells. Exchange of simple ions or soluble substances occurs between two cells in gap junctions. Understood? They will ask for 3 marks. Now explain types of junctions present in epithelial tissue. In epithelial tissue we see 3 types of junctions. One is tight junction, another one is adhering junction. It is also called desmosomes. Another one is gap junction. In tight junction, there is no exchange of substances or there is no exchange of cytoplasm between the cells. This type of junction prevents the leakage of substances between the cells. Whereas in adhering junction, that will help the cells to adhere each other. Cement, it acts as a cementing between two cells and thereby it provides mechanical support, but there is no exchange of substances between the cells. Whereas in gap junction, we see a gap, there is a flow, cytoplasmic exchange occurs between two cells through that gaps. So with that helps in transport of substances and simple ions and soluble substances present in cytoplasm. This is about the junctions. Understood? So in the next class we will discuss about connective tissue. Under that we will discuss loose connective tissue, specialized connective tissue, and again in that we will discuss, and a specialized we will discuss about cartilage, bone and blood. Understood? So this completes about epithelial tissue. So to overall function, when you go for overall function of epithelial tissue, so it mainly epithelial tissue provides protection. So example, skin, as epithelium connects, functions of epithelial tissue, so it provides protection. Example, skin. As this epithelium covers the surface of a body and protects underlying tissues, so in that way epithelium helps in protection. Example, skin, and helps in secretion. So the glandular epithelium, which modified themselves for secretion like columnar epithelium and cuboidal epithelium. So goblet cells secretes mucus, and cuboidal cells in salivary gland secrete saliva. In that way, epithelium helps in secretion and absorption. Epithelium which lie the intestine and stomach and also in the tubular part of nephron helps in absorption. So villi and microvilli on the surface of columnar epithelium increases surface area for the absorption of digested food present in a small intestine. So columnar epithelium in small intestine having villi and microvilli on the surface helps in absorption, and also epithelial cell helps in transport of substances. Example, lining of squamous epithelium. Lining of squamous epithelium in alveoli and in blood capillaries. They help in transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and also they help in transport of substances from intercellular to extracellular layer. So like this, epithelium provides protection and also it helps in secretion, absorption and transport of substances. Understood? So that is about epithelial tissue. In next class we will discuss about connective tissue. Thank you.